So, Frank, let's get to another frequently asked question: how to test if a PostgreSQL extension works in YugabyteDB. So, tell us more about extensions, please.
Some extensions are pre-bundled with Postgres, and then we have them also with Yugabyte. Some others are additional extension, and we bundle them with Yugabyte to make it easy. Some others can be installed with RPM, and some others you just have to compile them. So first, I will show the most common case, and let's do a demo with that. An extension that exists in the Postgres repo, and we will just install it with the RPM and show how we install it on Gigabyte. I will run a Docker container. So I've started the container there. I will start Yugabyte in the container. I'm doing that in the container just because it's a lab. And yeah, we will first connect to it and show where are the extensions. Maybe I can already show where they are installed. If I go to /Yugabyte, where I have my installation, there is a subdirectory that is Postgres. And the extensions are like in Postgres, the extensions are in share extension. This is where they are declared. And for example, if I let's take PG int plan, for example. Wait, yeah, PG plan control. So an extension in Postgres has a file that describes it with its version. There are also some SQL file. I'm showing the SQL file for another one. The SQL file is what will be created to add new functions, for example, new tables. And there is also some code that is there as a library. So in Postgres lib, where there are all libraries, for example, ls pg int. This is the dynamic library that contains the executable of the extensions. This is how they are deployed, and this is the directory of the Yugabyte deployment where there are already some extensions. If I connect SQL-sh, I can describe the extensions. So those are the extensions that are installed. We install pgstat statement by default to gather statistics about what is executed. But if we want to see all the extensions that we can install with create extension, we can just select from pg extension, if I'm not wrong, or at the end, available extension.
Okay, finally.
So available are those that are in this directory. If the extension is supported, it means that we have tested it also and do regression tests on them. So that's for the extensions that are pre-bundled. And you have the list of them. For example, you can use auto-explain, you can use pgstat statement, of course. There are some others that are installed by default in Yugabyte, and then you can install some of them, and this is what I will do to give an example. So here I have Yugabyte running on a container, and in this container, I will just get the extension files and put them in the right directory that we have seen. So I'm going, already there, to a temporary directory. I need to install the Postgres repository. Postgres repository, the PGDG repository, has Postgres software and also many extensions that are already bundled as RPMs. So this is the repository.
Okay, so this is the repository with a bunch of extensions.
Yeah,
that you created.
and I will install one that is sequential-uuids.
Okay.
So sequential-uuids is a way to generate UIDs that are not completely random. They have a prefix that depends on the time. So here I have just downloaded the RPM, and then I have it in my directory, I can look at what is inside in the RPM. Basically, they are the files that go to the share extension directory.
Okay.
And the library. So by default, when you install it on Postgres, on Red Hat, it goes in /usr. Here, I will extract it locally and put that in the Yugabyte directory.
All right.
So
All right. Sounds intriguing. Okay.
if I look at the link, my local USR PGSQL11 goes to the directory where I want to ship it. So to extract it, actually, in RPM, files are bundled with CPIO, a very old tool that was used more to put files on tapes. But actually, we still use the same with RPMs. And then to extract it, I can use RPM to CPIO and then CPIO to extract it. Extract it locally, but because this is a link, they are directly in my directory.
And also, folks, while Frank is moving forward with the installation, just don't be scared. Frank wants to show you just almost a complete process. He doesn't compile anything, but that what you do for extensions that are not bundled with YugabyteDB or PostgreSQL. Because when you download or install YugabyteDB, there are already many extensions, as you've seen a couple of minutes ago. But if you want to install an extension that is not bundled, this is what Frank is demonstrating you right now, just a full process.
Yeah, and then of course you need to test if the extension works. In theory, something that touches only the SQL layer should work because we use the same SQL layer. If an extension uses some features that we don't have or that we do differently because of the distributed storage, then it may not work. I won't create extension just to get the functions that comes with it. The thing is that you may have a lot of extension and you need to do create extension to add those new tables or those new functions to be sure that they do not collide in their namespace. You can also create an extension in a different schema for that. So basically, this extension has just two functions, and let's call one just to show what can be generated by those sequential UIDs. If I select UIDs there, and let me
what if you do the series, like generate series or call it multiple times? Okay, that's what you want to do.
So you can see that I have random numbers there, but the prefix and the prefix by default is 4 characters, but you can pass another one as a parameter. By default, the prefix stays the same during a 60-second window. So that's the goal.